Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So much has happened from the last video up till now. After I lime washed all the walls, I was ready to put the room back together, but then it was a little bit in a standstill, just waiting to collect different things and making sure I had what I needed to start the next project in the room. And then one thing led to another where it all just like snowballed, where I had a project after another project after another. And then I was just overwhelmed because I didn't know whether to edit and post or just to continue running through these projects. And some things just took a little bit more time, since some things are a little bit newer that I did for the first time, but I feel like they turned out really good. So I'm excited to share all of those projects with you guys in two parts. So I hope you guys enjoy. I'm no expert by any means, and changing doors seems intimidating, but I was quite surprised how smooth it went to replace our first door in our home. Thankfully, Luna had a better idea than I did, and we had a leg up to install the new one. Removing the old door, we placed it on top of the new one to see if the sizes matched and realized that the sides would need to be trimmed. Luckily, a trip to Home Depot and we were able to find all these DIY kits to help install the new door. Marking off the areas that needed to be trimmed, we aligned it with painter's tape to make it easier visually to cut straight. So this is one of the wood trimmers that we got from Ryobi, which they had like the whole set of being able to add a door. So it's definitely convenient. So you can see here, it has like the drill. You connect the drill here, and this is where it like trims the wood off the sides. How much did you say it trimmed off?
1/32 of an inch.
1/32 of an inch per one pass. So we're going to trim each side by 1/8 and see how it goes. So here's a close-up. It's not too shabby, but it will have to be sanded after. It's not clean, but it does the job. After some light sanding, we laid the old door back again on the new one to double check the sizing and prepped the door hinges and the door knobs. Using this hinge router template kit, it was easy to make the template to match up the hinges we already had. It has its own screw and router bit. The only thing you really need is a drill and the router tool itself. It's overall a pretty much complete kit when just starting out. Within a few minutes, you can get a perfect recessed edge for your hinges, and then you're ready to add your door back into the door frame. Next, it was time to tackle the doorknob. I picked the perfect oval knob from Etsy. The only problem was that neither of us knew how to install it or if we bought the right type. The new doorknob only came with a spindle and no instructions how to install. After taking out the doorknob from the previous door, I thought perhaps I could recycle the parts to make the new doorknob install work, or at least see how the previous one was assembled. Disassembling the old knob, I realized I could use a latch component and I would be all set to complete the more T-style doorknob we have. After testing the doorknob, now to use the wood door lock installation kit. It comes with a spade bit guide that you attach to your drill and start drilling your hole. Next, you can use the rest of the kit template to adhere it to the door to drill another hole on the door side to later insert the latch through. For the final step, we're using the door latch installation kit to strike the template on the door to know where to recess and chisel. Afterwards, I could finally stain the door. It took a few tries because I was trying to test if I just wanted to use a bare tamarind and the very thin weathered oak like I did on the ceiling, which ended up too gray. I just ended up using pre-stain and the bare tamarind stain and then sealing it with a polyurethane to complete the door. Remember the old fan? I'm pretty sure it was original to the house, maybe not, who knows, but we were ready to install the new fan. I really wanted a big statement light fixture, but it's impossible to go without a fan here in Phoenix, especially in the summers. I really love the new style of this new fan that we got, but it's a little bit higher on our budget side, but I think it was worth it. The fan was one of the largest of its style, a 60-inch, which is bigger than our old one, and so far it feels like a giant turbine, which has kept us pretty cool midday. Our room has always been unbearably hot because it faces the west, making summers brutal in this room, but so far it's kept us pretty cool. So I got this dresser along with other furniture pieces on OfferUp. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. not that people ask me, but I feel like it's like a good to know that you can find pieces secondhand on that app. It's kind of like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. It's kind of, they were married together. Here in Arizona, I feel like a lot of people do use it because I always find tons of pieces for my home. So I found this dresser, 2 end tables, and an armoire, which I'm not sure we're gonna put the armoire because I was thinking about like right here by the doorway, close to the edge of the bed. So it might be too big because that thing is massive. But when I saw it, I was like, I need to have it. But I don't know where I'm gonna put it. It's been in the garage. All these pieces have been in the garage since I bought them, which was last year, like almost like 8 months ago. So that's like how like much I was like planning ahead, even though that I didn't have like the full like vision board or mood board. I knew what I wanted for like the types of pieces I was looking for. But the one thing about this dresser, it needs a little bit of TLC. When I bought it from the family, she said that her son, was one of his first woodworking projects. I'm guessing now he's a carpenter. And I mean, overall I loved it because I feel like it has like a very vintage worn style. So I mean, it's good to know like too where like how it was made, because I'm noticing now that like this like border is gonna like fall off probably like in the future, so I'll need to fix it. And the staining, I wasn't too in love with it. I wanted something more like a little bit more of a more brown than red, which is coming off more red in my eyes. But I'm gonna leave it as is, more so because it's kind of growing on me, but it's way too hot to be outside and sanding and staining anything out there. But I'm happy I found this, and I'm excited to show you guys the other pieces.
When choosing a bed frame, calking bed frames are very limited. After a lot of searching, we found an affordable modern linen bed frame from Living Spaces. The price for the size was under $600, which is quite incredible for the size. You won't find many prices like that for a calking, and assembly was quite easy too. Now that we have our bed frame assembled, we ended up buying a new Stearns & Foster mattress from a warehouse outlet on OfferUp for $500 with a $100 box spring. Crazy prices, right? Hopefully this helps you save money in the future too.
So it feels like 1,000 degrees outside. It's so hot, but we made it back. We added the box springs, and now we're gonna bring the mattress. But I'm excited. This means that we're finally going to take a nap, even though we don't have everything together, but we're gonna finally be able to sleep tonight in our bedroom again. So I was looking for linens for calking, and it's always difficult trying to find anything for a calking. So they're gonna be expensive no matter what. So I splurged a little bit on this linen sheet. In the summers here in Phoenix, it's too hot to have anything more than like a very light bed sheet, and then just like a, either a linen type of duvet cover or something like that. So I thought that this would be perfect. I actually love the color. I wish I could have found a metal calking bed frame. I feel like that would have looked a lot nicer in this room. I feel like the headboard's almost a little bit too white, but it was the most inexpensive option for what we needed at the time. So I'll make do with it, and maybe later on I'll find something better. But I'm gonna put this sheet on. At first, I was a little bit against this type of bed sheet. I'm not even sure what the style is really called, because I feel like it's kind of like a lazy way to do your bed every morning. And I didn't like the fact that it would touch the ground, but I got one that would be like the bare minimum trying to touch, well, it's not bare minimum because this actually does touch quite a bit on the floor. So we'll see how well I can keep it clean, but that's kind of the style of this.
Showing you guys a closer view of these gorgeous Mexican end tables, these are where the other furniture pieces I found on OfferUp. I absolutely love the detail. Aren't they so perfect? We've had them in the room for a few weeks now, and I realized I didn't want all the clutter of electronics messing up the view of these charming end tables. So I plan to make a charging station within the nightstand to keep everything charged and out of sight using this recessed power strip. To start, I'm first going to measure the back of the power box onto the drawer, which is shorter than the front. I really wish they had a template in the box I could have just used instead of me bringing my ruler and the plug being in the way. After I got the cutout size, I used an oscillating tool to cut the straight edges onto the back of the first drawer. Within a few minutes, I have a cutout and it just needs a bit of light sanding. Doing a little test fit will help to see if you need to go back and trim some more. Next, for the power strip to come towards the back of the nightstand, I'm making a run cutout that will allow the power strip cord to connect to the main power source on the wall. And optional, while I'm still making cutouts, I'm making another cutout for my lamp to also connect into the same power strip from the back. Next, we can finally screw in the power strip with the included screws. Adding back the drawer into the end table, just pull out the cord from the back so it's ready to connect up to the main power source. Afterwards, the nightstand just needs a little bit of dusting and cleaning and it's ready to go. From the back, I first connected the lamp. I slipped it through the main cutout and then going into the side cutout of the drawer. Next, I have my normal day-to-day electronics, whether normal outlet or USB or USB-C, which I really love that this power strip has several types of connections.
So I'm currently at SAS, which is a warehouse fabric store here in Phoenix, and I'm looking for the perfect fabric for a couple areas in the room. So let's take a look at what we find. This place is pretty big. There's a lot to find. This is only one side of the store that I've made it through, but I can't even guess like how big this warehouse is. It's pretty big. So if you guys are looking for fabric here in Phoenix, it's the place to go. So I'm currently contemplating this fabric. I really love the color and I love the texture. There's like a very subtle design. I'm thinking maybe a pillow, maybe the door curtains. I'm not sure yet, but loving the color. So I lasted there about an hour, but I am heading out. It's way too hot. It was already 100 degrees when I got there, which they opened at 10, and it's like still 100 degrees. I went a couple weeks around like 5, and it doesn't get any better because they close at 6. So I was like, oh, maybe a little bit later would be better. No, it was like 114, 115 degrees, and just the sun was like really, really hot. Like you felt like your face was gonna melt off. And then right now, I'm still having kind of that sensation, but not as bad, but I am like really sweaty. It's really humid today actually, and because they have a swamp cooler. I mean, if they didn't have such great fabrics, I wouldn't torture myself this much, but they just have such great stuff there, and it's at a great like wholesale price. A lot of the yards that I bought, I never buy anything more than like $6, $7, $8. I don't think I've gotten anything more than that. So you'll find prices under that as well. So they have some really good stuff.
After a few trips to the same SAS and one closer on Indian School, I found 2 fabrics that I instantly fell in love with. I decided to make a pillow cover out of each of the fabrics. I couldn't decide which was my favorite, so I decided to have 2 and later switch them out. Using a lumber pillow I already had, I took the existing cover and measured out the fabric and left about ½ an inch for a seam allowance. After measuring the fabric, I then trimmed everything to size with my rotary cutter. It always has the cleanest lines and it's easy to use without getting tired, unlike scissors. After cutting 2 pieces of fabric to size, I'm going to add a zigzag stitch to make sure the loose ends stay intact and they don't unravel over time. My sewing machine is a basic model, so is the zigzag stitch, but it works. I just need to cut some of the flyaways. For the most part, we're going to be using a basic stitch to stitch these covers together, but I'm going to make a zipper to make it easier to remove and wash. With my zipper, I'm going to make it hidden so that the fabric covers the zipper to make it look more intentional and professional looking. While I was at SAS, I found a 24-inch zipper for my 36-inch lumber cover. I'm going to center the zipper against the fabric and mark the zipper ends with a washable fabric pencil. The areas without a zipper, we're going to sew a basic medium stitch up until the zipper begins, and then we're going to switch up to a basting stitch. If you're new to sewing, a basting stitch is a longer, looser length stitch, which is later intended to be removed with a seam ripper. On my basic sewing machine, I dialed it to a 7 medium stitch. Then we can begin sewing ½ an inch away from the edge of the fabric. Sew a basic stitch up to the point until the zipper begins, and don't forget to reverse stitch at the beginning and at the end of your basic stitching. Once I'm at the zipper mark, I dialed it to a 10 for a basting longer length stitch. Once I got to the next zipper mark, I dial it back to a 7 and finish it off. Now that I've stitched a 1/2 inch bottom seam, I lay out the fabric facing down with the seam upwards and I iron the seam open flat. Next, I'm going to lay the zipper facing down, matching the teeth to the zipper to the center of my seam. Stabilize it with a few pins before stitching. To sew a zipper on my sewing machine, I'm going to switch out my standard needle presser foot with a zipper foot. It will help keep the needle closer to the zipper edge, making it easier to stitch alongside the edges. At the beginning, I opened up the zipper to make it easier to stitch. You'll also notice the zipper is about 1/2 inches wide on each side of the teeth, which will lay on top of the 1/2 inch seam we ironed out flat. When stitching the zipper, I used a medium length stitch, a 7 on my dowel for the entirety. When we finish one side of the zipper, I just pick up the presser foot and rotate my fabric to stitch the next side. Afterwards, we can finally remove the basting stitch. Face the fabric upward. It's possible only to remove the basting stitch because its length is longer and looser. You can easily use a seam ripper to rip out the stitches, and because we reverse stitch the medium stitches, it won't become undone, only the basting stitch, and that's how you get a hidden zipper.
So I'm making one more pillow with this gorgeous fabric, and this time I made a hidden zipper. My first one, I didn't do it. It's been a while since I touched the sewing machine and I kind of forgot about it. But this one, I mean, other than being a possible poncho, I mean, it'll be a great pillow so that I can hide that little zipper there. That's not the most pretty thing, but I think this will do.
For this next part, you need to leave the zipper open a bit and we can finally stitch the top and the sides of our pillow cover. Using a medium stitch using a 7 on the dowel, I followed 1/2 inch seam allowance all around the edges. After stitching the other 3 sides, I can fully unzip the zipper fully open and turn the fabric right side up, and that's how you can make a pillow cover with a hidden zipper.